Hi, I'm Dan Q, and I want to show you yesterday's internet today. I've got a blog. It's on a CMS you might have heard of called WordPress, and you can access it on the web at danq.me. But the web isn't the only protocol on the internet, and lately I've been playing a lot with making WordPress speak other languages too. I'm going to tell you about two of them today, Finger and Gopher. And if you've not heard of them, don't worry, it's because you're younger than me. Finger turned up in the 1970s on mainframe computers. Back then there were lots of different commands to look somebody up by their username, like Automattic-centric. And you might type something like Finger, Carlo Rue at CERN, and get Carlo's data, his name, his email address, his phone number, and optionally extra information from specially named text files in his directory about what he was working on. And it didn't take people long to start putting all kinds of information in these text files about their life and what they were up to. And I maintain that Finger was the original microblogging service, but Finger is still alive today. Some of you have got laptops up, so give this a go. Open a terminal, type in Finger Vienna at graph.no, and the graph.no server will give you a little ASCII art representation of the weather here in Vienna today. So I've added, Finger support to WordPress. You can now Finger blog at danq.me and see my blog homepage presented in ASCII, or Finger a slug at danq.me and read an actual blog post. Right there in your terminal. And I know what you're all thinking. You're all thinking, why? And we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about Gopher. Now, Gopher turned up in the early 1990s and was contemporaneous with the early web. In fact, most early web browsers could access both websites and Gopher holes. And yes, we called them Gopher holes. Gopher's still alive. It's a bit harder to use now. You'll have to download a browser for it, but you can still access Metafilter. You can read XKCD. You can look at Hacker News, including this article about a project of mine that was even stupider than this one. And so, thanks to some terrible code, I'm not going to show you any code, by the way, but just trust me, it's terrible. Thanks to some terrible code I've written, you can now access my blog on Gopher. And it looks like that. And you know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah. No, you're thinking, why? And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, because I started trying to add extra support to protocols into WordPress. But when I got as far as Gopher, I realized that the number of Gopher sites on the internet is increasing. What? And at first I thought, this must be nostalgia. It must be folks as old as me trying to relive their use. But most of the people I meet on Gopher Space are younger than me. It's not about nostalgia. Instead, the growth of these retro protocols and modern protocols that are like them, like Gemini and Spring 83, which I think are well worth a look, are more of a countercultural protest. They're people who are dissatisfied with the direction the web is going. These protocols, these ancient protocols, many of them older than me, are great for accessibility. They don't have any tracking. They don't have intrusive ads. They don't dump enormous JavaScript payloads like React onto your computer every time you go to a site. They're fast and they work on just about anything. And while I'm not claiming that Gopher is the next big thing, I honestly don't think Gopher was the best old thing. I do think that there's something that we can learn from the people who are looking to these protocols for a better internet. We don't need to turn back the clock, but perhaps we can learn something about a simpler time and help that inform how we make the web of tomorrow.